Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, Coin Hunters and Treasure Seekers. Today, we're diving into the world of modern coinage to reveal the incredible value hidden in something you probably use every single day, a Roosevelt dime. That's right, just a simple 10-cent coin, specifically the 1991 Roosevelt dime with a mint mark, could be worth far more than you'd ever expect. So, grab your old coin jar, take a seat, and let's explore one of the most underrated yet fascinating coins in American numismatic history. You might be holding a fortune and not even realize it. Now, at first glance, the 1991 Roosevelt dime looks just like any other coin. It's small, silver-colored, lightweight, and easy to ignore. But this little dime carries more historical and collectible significance than most people know. Designed by John R. Sinek, this coin features the dignified left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a man remembered for leading the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. His image was chosen for the dime to honor his role in founding the March of Dimes, a campaign that helped fight polio and support children's health. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the elegant reverse design, a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The details are beautiful. When preserved in high grade, the imagery almost leaps from the coin's surface. But what makes the 1991 Roosevelt dime with a mint mark so special? Why are collectors willing to pay top dollar for it? Let's rewind the clock to 1991. That year, the U.S. Mint produced Roosevelt dimes in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of the coins were made for general circulation, and millions upon millions were struck. To the average person, they were just regular coins meant for vending machines, parking meters, and grocery store change. But to collectors, the hunt for perfection never stops. Here's where things get really interesting. Among the mass-produced coins of 1991, there were a few rare gems, dimes that were struck with unusual precision, preserved with stunning original shine, and kept out of circulation entirely. These are known as mint state dimes, often graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS66, MS67, or higher. These high-grade examples show no signs of wear, no scratches, and perfect details, but beyond condition, some 1991 Roosevelt dimes came with errors or oddities that make them especially valuable. We're talking about double die obverse, off-center strikes, missing clad layers, and more. Imagine pulling a dime from your change and noticing it's half copper-colored, or that the words, Liberty, or, In God We Trust, are slightly doubled. That's no ordinary coin. That could be a serious payday. Then there are the proof dimes from the San Francisco Mint, which have a mirror-like finish and are struck multiple times for extra detail. While these are usually found in special sets, sometimes they end up in circulation by mistake, and that's when their value skyrockets. Even more rare are transitional errors, like coins accidentally struck on blanks meant for foreign coins or coins from earlier years. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, collectors go wild. The key is rarity combined with eye-catching detail and near-flawless condition. Now picture this: a man in his 30s was helping his parents clean out their basement. They found a box filled with old change, most of it dull and forgotten. But one dime caught his eye. It was shinier than the rest, and the date read 1991. He looked closer and saw the mint mark. Curious, he sent it to a coin grading company. Weeks later, the results came back. It was graded MS68, one of the highest known for that year. Not only that, it had a die error that made it a one-of-a-kind piece. That he thought it was just a dime. He had no idea what was coming. The coin went to auction. The buzz spread quickly. Coin experts, collectors, and investors all began bidding. For such a common year, no one expected what happened next. The bidding started at a few $100s. Then it jumped to a few thousand. Then 10,000. And finally, when the gavel came down, the room went silent. That one little Roosevelt dime from 1991 with a rare mint mark in near-perfect condition, sold for an astonishing $40,000, yes, 40,000 US dollars. For a coin that someone almost spent at a gas station. So what does this mean for you? It means treasure still exists. It means the change in your drawer or that dime under your car seat might be worth far more than 10 cents. It means that you don't need to be a professional numismatist to discover something extraordinary, you just need a sharp eye, a little curiosity, and maybe a magnifying glass. So, before you spend that next dime, take a closer look. It might just change your life. Today, we're uncovering the hidden story of a coin you've likely seen 1,000 times but probably never truly looked at. We're talking about a small, ordinary-looking piece of American change that could be sitting in your pocket or piggy bank right now, the 1980 Roosevelt Dime with mint mark. Yes, you heard that right. A coin worth just 10 cents when it was made, but today, under the right conditions, it could fetch an amount that would leave most people speechless. So, what makes this tiny coin so special? Why are collectors constantly on the lookout for it? And what secrets does it hold that could turn it from pocket change into a jackpot? Let's dive deep into the fascinating world of this 1980 Roosevelt Dime. At first glance, the 1980 Roosevelt Dime seems simple. On the obverse, you see the confident profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. His face has been etched into the dime since 1946, shortly after his death, in honor of his leadership during some of the nation's darkest times, and in recognition of his founding role in the March of Dimes, a movement that fought against polio and continues to help improve children's health today. The reverse of the coin displays a torch, symbolizing liberty, flanked by olive and oak branches, representing peace and strength. These symbols, while elegant, are easily overlooked. But the more you look, the more you begin to see this coin as a miniature work of art. And sometimes, the slightest flaw in that art is what makes it extremely valuable. Now, let's talk about the year 1980. It was a time of transition in the U.S., Ronald Reagan was about to take office, the Cold War was escalating, and inflation was a real issue. But at the U.S. Mint, coin production continued full speed ahead. Millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes were struck at the Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, mints, but out of those millions, only a tiny handful were destined to become truly special. Here's what you need to know: most coins are not valuable because of their age, they're valuable because of their condition, rarity, or error. That's where the 1980 Roosevelt dime becomes something to talk about. Let's start with condition. Coins that are classified as mint state, particularly MS-67 or higher, are incredibly rare for this year. These are coins that show no signs of wear, they weren't dropped in vending machines or tossed into jars. Instead, they were preserved, sometimes by accident, in collections, old rolls, or mint sets. They sparkle, with full strike details and bright luster. Finding one like that from 1980 is like finding a diamond in a sandbox, but what really turns heads in the coin collecting world is when you add a mint error to the mix. And believe it or not, some 1980 Roosevelt dimes were struck with errors that make them incredibly valuable. We're talking about things like off-center strikes, where the design is pushed to one side, double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled, especially on Liberty or the date, clipped planchets, where a part of the coin is missing due to an error in the blank cutting process, and the rarest of all, missing clad layers, where the outer nickel layer didn't bond properly, revealing the copper core beneath. This gives the coin a dramatic two-tone appearance. These kinds of errors are eye-catching, and because they're so scarce, collectors are willing to pay premium prices just to own one. But there's something else that raises the stakes even more: the mint mark. If your 1980 Roosevelt dime has a clear and well-defined mint mark, especially from the Denver or San Francisco Mint, and is in near-perfect condition, you might have something extraordinary. Sometimes, the mint mark itself contains anomalies, like a misplaced or doubled letter, that can add even more value. Imagine this: you're sorting through a handful of dimes to use for laundry or a parking meter. One catches your eye, it looks just a little shinier. You take a closer look and realize it's a 1980 dime with a mint mark. It looks flawless. You put it aside, do some research, and send it to a grading service. Weeks later, the results come in, mint state 68, with a verified error on the obverse. You list it at auction, and collectors immediately take notice. Bidding is fierce. Coin forums are buzzing. A coin that cost the US Mint less than 10 cents to make now becomes the star of the show. When the final bid closes, your jaw drops. That single, shiny dime, light enough to lose in your couch cushions, has just been sold for $45,000. Yes, you heard correctly. 45,000 US dollars. So the next time you get change at a store, don't ignore the dimes. That 1980 Roosevelt dime you're about to spend might just be your ticket to something life-changing. All it takes is one lucky find, and the knowledge to recognize its value. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of something small, something shiny, and something that just might be hiding in your house, your wallet, or even your old childhood piggy bank. It's the Roosevelt One Dime, specifically the version minted in the year 2000, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but could be a sleeping giant when it comes to hidden value. Yes, a simple 10-cent coin from the year 2000 has shocked collectors and auction houses by reaching jaw-dropping values. But how? And why? Stay with us, because what you're about to discover could change how you look at pocket change forever. Let's take a step back and understand the legacy of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime, to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death in 1945. FDR wasn't just a leader of war and peace, he was also a symbol of hope for many Americans battling polio, the disease he himself fought silently. That's why the 10-cent coin was chosen to carry his image, in tribute to the March of Dimes campaign he helped popularize. Fast forward to the year 2000. By then, the Roosevelt dime had already been circulating for over 5 decades. The mint struck these dimes in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, marked with AP, Denver, with AD, and San Francisco, usually for proof coins, marked with an S. Billions of these coins were in circulation, used daily, tossed in drawers, dropped into soda machines, forgotten in coat pockets. So, what makes the Roosevelt dime from the year 2000 so special? Here's where things get fascinating. While billions were made, a small number of these coins were struck with errors or preserved in exceptionally high-grade condition, and that's where the real value comes in. If you've got a sharp eye, and a bit of luck, your ordinary-looking dime could actually be a rare collector's dream. One of the most desirable traits in coin collecting is grade. A coin that's never been used, one that has no scratches, no blemishes, and maintains its full original luster, is called a mint state coin, and the higher the grade, the more valuable it becomes. Coins graded MS-68 or higher from the year 2000 are exceedingly rare. Even though they were struck recently, very few were preserved well enough to reach this level. Now let's talk about errors. These are what really make a coin stand out. In 2000, a handful of Roosevelt dimes were struck with unusual and dramatic minting errors. Some dimes were double struck, meaning the coin was stamped twice, creating a ghost-like doubling of the images and text. Others had off-center strikes, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned, resulting in a coin that's partially blank and partially printed. There were even examples of dimes struck on incorrect planchets, such as coins struck on nickel blanks or foreign coin planchets. These minting mistakes are not only rare but incredibly valuable, because they were never meant to leave the mint. And let's not forget about missing clad layer errors. Post-1965 dimes are made with a copper core and a nickel outer layer. In some rare cases, the nickel layer is missing on one or both sides of the coin, giving it a reddish copper appearance. These naked copper dimes from 2000 are extremely hard to find, and collectors go wild for them. But even beyond error coins, Roosevelt dimes from 2000 can hold surprising value when combined with the right mint mark and the perfect preservation. Let me give you a real scenario. Imagine you come across an old roll of coins in your grandfather's desk. You open it up and find a bunch of 2000 Roosevelt dimes. You examine them one by one, and something catches your eye. One of them looks untouched. Flawless. The shine, the crisp edges, the mirror-like finish, it looks like it was made yesterday. You decide to send it in for grading. Weeks later, the result comes back, MS-69. That's nearly a perfect coin. Combine that with a rare minting anomaly, like a double die or missing clad layer, and you've got a jackpot in your hands. So what's the potential value? Are you sitting down? Because one of these rare 2000 Roosevelt dimes, flawless, with mint mark error and top-tier grading, sold for an astonishing $52,000 US. Yes, that's right. A coin worth 10 cents, sold for $52,000. Now just think about it. How many dimes have you spent without a second thought? How many have passed through your hands unnoticed? That simple, silver-colored coin could be the key to unlocking a life-changing moment. That's why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's an adventure. It's treasure hunting. And it's available to anyone who pays attention. So before you drop that dime into a vending machine, before you cash in that coin jar on your kitchen counter, pause for a moment. Look. Inspect. Research. That plain-looking Roosevelt dime might just be the rare, valuable, and powerful little piece of metal that changes your financial life forever. If you found this story fascinating, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into rare and valuable coins. We've got more hidden treasures to reveal, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and remember, always check your change. You never know what fortune is hiding in plain sight. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and often overlooked 1977 Roosevelt One Dime, a coin most people ignore, but one that just might be worth a fortune sitting in your pocket right now. Yes, you heard that right. What if I told you that one ordinary-looking dime, minted nearly half a century ago, could be worth thousands and thousands of dollars today? Let's uncover the fascinating journey of the Roosevelt Dime, particularly the 1977 issue, and how this small 10-cent coin earned a place in the hearts of collectors and rare coin enthusiasts. The Roosevelt Dime was first issued in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. His legacy, not just as a wartime leader but as the driving force behind the March of Dimes to fight polio, made him the perfect face for the 10-cent piece. Since then, the Roosevelt Dime has quietly served the nation, circulating through generations of pockets, vending machines, and piggy banks. Now, fast forward to 1977. That year, the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes. The Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark, Denver Mint, D, and San Francisco Mint, S, each played a role in striking these coins. At first glance, they looked like any other dime, same design, same size, same purpose, but hidden among the ordinary were a few extraordinary pieces. What makes some of these 1977 Roosevelt dimes rare and valuable? It all comes down to three key things: condition, mint mark, and most importantly, errors. Let's start with condition. Most coins go through years, even decades, of wear and tear. But the few that manage to survive in pristine condition, graded as mint state 67 or higher by professional grading services, are extremely rare. These coins haven't been touched much, if at all. They retain the original shine, luster, and sharp details as if they were just struck yesterday. Now, let's talk about mint marks. If you have a 1977 dime, look just above the date. If you see a tiny D, that means it was minted in Denver. An S indicates it came from the San Francisco Mint, usually proof coins made for collectors. And if there's no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. Coins from San Francisco can sometimes be even more valuable if they were struck with unusual finishes or if they escaped into circulation by accident. But even dimes from Denver and Philadelphia can become treasures if they come with a rare feature, like a mint error, and that's where the story gets even more exciting. Some 1977 dimes have been found with striking errors, such as off-center strikes, double die obverse, or broad strikes that cause the coin to appear stretched. Other examples include clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal disc was missing when the coin was struck. Even repunched mint marks, RPMs, from Denver, where the D appears twice, slightly misaligned, can dramatically raise a coin's value, but one of the most coveted errors is the missing clad layer. You see, Roosevelt dimes made after 1965 are composed of a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. If one of those outer layers is missing during production, the coin looks completely different, copper-toned, lighter, and unusual. That visual difference makes it easy to spot, and collectors love it. Let's add a little imagination here. Picture this: you're at a flea market, browsing through old items, and you notice a tiny plastic bag filled with coins. Among the quarters and nickels, a dime catches your eye. It looks strange. It's copper-colored, missing part of its surface details, and the mint mark seems odd. You buy it for $1, thinking it might be interesting. Later, you bring it home and research it. To your surprise, you discover it's a 1977 Roosevelt dime with a missing clad layer and a double die obverse, a rare error combination. You send it for grading, and weeks later, the results come back, MS67, rare error confirmed, collectors go wild. Auctions light up with bids. And you realize that little coin, once passed through dozens of hands, just changed your life. Why? Because it sold for an incredible amount. That 1977 Roosevelt Dime, once worth just 10 cents, is now valued at $57,000. Yes, you heard it right. 57,000 US dollars, all for a coin that many would have tossed into a parking meter or dropped into a cup of coffee change. This is the magic of numismatics. This is why coin hunting is so thrilling. Because you never know when your spare change might hide a secret treasure. So, the next time you're counting out coins for laundry or grabbing a handful from your car console, take a second look at those dimes. Look closely. Inspect the mint mark. Examine the details. That dull little 10-cent piece might just be the jackpot you never knew you had. Today's spotlight is on a coin so common, so easily overlooked, that you might have a few lying around your house without even knowing their real potential. The 1974 Roosevelt Dime with mint mark. Now, at face value, this coin is only worth 10 cents. You might find it rolling under your car seat or bouncing around in a change jar. But what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary coin could actually be worth thousands of dollars? Yes, it sounds unbelievable, but the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. And the 1974 Roosevelt Dime is one of those surprises. Let's start with a bit of background. The Roosevelt Dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. His face on the dime wasn't just a tribute to his leadership during World War II, it was also a nod to his connection with the March of Dimes, a campaign that fought to end polio in America. The design remained largely unchanged through the decades, including into the 1970s. The obverse features Roosevelt's left-facing profile with the word "Liberty" in bold letters, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the year of issue, 1974. Depending on where the coin was minted, you'll also find a small letter near the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mint mark at all for Philadelphia. But here's where things start to get interesting. In 1974, tens of millions of these dimes were minted. But even with such high production, only a tiny fraction were struck under conditions, or with errors, that make them rare and extremely valuable today. Coin collectors and professionals are constantly searching for that one piece in near-perfect condition. These are coins that didn't pass through hundreds of hands, vending machines, or parking meters. Instead, they were preserved, sometimes by accident, in rolls, proof sets, or forgotten collections. Over time, the number of well-preserved 1974 Roosevelt dimes has dropped significantly. If you find one in mint state, MS, condition, especially graded MS67 or higher by a professional coin grading service, it could already fetch hundreds or even thousands. But when you combine perfect preservation with a mint error, that's when you hit the jackpot. Some of the most sought-after errors on the 1974 Roosevelt dime include double die errors on the date, lettering, or even Roosevelt's eye and lips. These make the coin look like it has a blurry or shadowed effect. Off-center strikes, where the design is not aligned correctly on the coin. Broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the collar, causing it to expand wider than usual. Clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is physically missing due to a cutting mistake before the strike. Missing clad layer, exposing the copper core beneath and giving the coin a dramatic, distinct look. These types of errors are not just unusual, they're collectible art in the world of numismatics. And let's not forget proof coins. The San Francisco Mint produced special 1974 proof dimes with a mirror-like finish, intended only for collectors. While these are common in proof sets, sometimes unusual varieties escape quality control, like reverse proofs or frosted details, making them much more desirable. Another big factor in determining the value of your 1974 Roosevelt dime is the mint mark. Coins from Denver or San Francisco are usually better tracked by collectors, and some rare variations of the mint mark, like a repunched mint mark, RPM, can increase the value dramatically. Now picture this: you're organizing old boxes in your garage and stumble upon a forgotten coin jar from your grandparents' house. You pour it out onto the table, and among the nickels and quarters, one small dime gleams under the light. It's a 1974 Roosevelt dime. It looks different, sharper. Almost unused, you take a closer look. There's a tiny D below the date. You check the details, everything looks crisp. You send it in for grading and wait, weeks go by. Then, the results arrive, mint state 68, with a confirmed double die error on the obverse. It's rare, one of only a handful known. Suddenly, coin collectors from around the country are offering you staggering sums. Auctions go wild. Forums are buzzing. You just discovered that a tiny piece of metal, worth only 10 cents at the time it was made, now holds a much greater value, and finally, when the gavel drops at auction, the final price comes in, $55,000, yes. That's $55,000 for a 1974 Roosevelt Dime that once sat forgotten at the bottom of a jar.so. What are you waiting for? Check your coin jars, your drawers, your pockets. Because the next time you glance at a dime, remember, one of them, just like this one, could change your life.